morning, everybody. In the second hour of Tracks Momentum, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the show. As you know, my name is Anil on the mic, and on Mondays, we bring you a special interview feature that comes to you by way of Health on Tracks. We touch on topics that concern your health by bringing experts into the studios to have some no-nonsense conversation so that you'll be enlightened and you'll have a eureka moment at the end of this conversation and be much more concerned about your health. They call it the body is the temple. And so the body has to be taken care of very well. And somebody's in the studio today to help us crack a code. This is a code that is very difficult to crack. I think, myth has it that it's easy to crack, but very difficult to maintain. I don't know. We'll let our guests in the studios, explain all of that to us, dichotomize that to us. And as is the case, I have in the studios today, Ben Chi, he's a senior nutritionist and a founder of Bodycrafter Wellness, and he is going to crack the fat code. Wow, what a topic today, Ben. How are you, Ben?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me, DJ Anil.
Of course, the pleasure is ours. I have to say today, I have been always looking forward to have a session with a nutritionist. Really? And voila, today I manifested an all-paid-for nutritionist session by TRAXXfm.
Wow, that's good to know.
So I'm going to make the best use of that.
Sure.
So before we start off, Ben, could you just briefly tell us about yourself and what is it that you do as a nutritionist?
Well, how should I start it? Okay, so I started off being a medical doctor actually for 1 year.
Okay.
And I didn't kind of continue that path. I just felt like wanted to do something different.
Right.
Wanted to focus on preventive medicine. And as a result, I kind of changed my career, got into nutrition.
Okay.
And I had a chance to study overseas for three years.
All right.
And afterwards, came back to Malaysia, started nutrition. And the reason why, to keep it simple, is simply because I felt that nowadays, there are so many information around nutrition, right?
Right.
And if you talk about facts around nutrition, you can see every single year, there are lots of myths. They are talking about different trending diets, things like that.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it seems like people are getting more confused. Am I right, DJ?
Very true.
Right.
Very true.
And with this spread of information on social media, nowadays everyone can claim themselves as being a nutritionist. It just makes it even more difficult as an industry to regulate, what is the truth, right? So that's the reason why I'm here today, to spread the truth about nutrition and make Malaysian, not just Malaysians, but anyone else who is listening to Tracks and beyond to get healthier.
We got the nutrition messiah today. Yeah,
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so just let's set the narrative now on giving some statistics to our listeners.
Wow.
What is the percentage of Malaysians who are considered overweight and obese, Ben?
All right. Do you want to have a quick guess? Maybe.
I think maybe more than half.
Well, you're actually spot on.
Yes, really?
Yeah, spot on.
Okay.
Right. So actually, if you look at the statistics based in 10 years ago, right?
Right.
Every few years, the government, the Ministry of Health Malaysia, would conduct a national health survey.
National Health Morbidity, yeah.
Wow, you got it, man.
Okay.
You're part of KKM, just wondering.
No.
Exactly, right. So the
Yeah.
KKM will actually do a survey, conduct, and just to see how we're doing in terms of Malaysian health. And guess what? Back in 10 years ago, overweight or obese population in Malaysia was roughly around 43%.
Okay.
43.
That was a decade ago.
A decade ago. And in just 10 years, right, we are seeing an increase in 25%.
Oh my
right?
goodness.
From 43, now we're up to 54. Right, ish. Yeah.
Why? Why is this happening to us?
Well, I guess people are getting a bit more, sedentary nowadays.
Sedentary.
And I think the whole industry is moving towards, fast food, and people are getting more busier, and I guess it's just the whole context we're living in right now. And I guess the awareness is not that strong. But if you were to look at overseas, if you look at America, you look at Australia, things like that, I think it's a kind of phase where we all have to transition through. People are getting a bit more health concerned, and then we know that actually it's the reason why you're gaining weight, why we're putting on so much health issues is actually due to our lifestyle, our diet and lifestyle choices. And as a result, people kind of shifted towards more preventive approach, right? More lifestyle-based approach. So I guess this is kind of like the tipping point for Malaysia. It's either we kind of change it right now, or it's just not going to go nice. Yeah,
of course, because that's the thing that most fitness experts also say is, you could be thought the most efficient technique to shed off all of those extra pounds.
Yeah.
But if you don't work on your eating habits and don't control what you consume, then you're never going to keep it off anyway, right?
Absolutely spot on.
But as Malaysians, Ben, it is very difficult because we love our food.
Absolutely, yeah.
We love our
understand.
nasi lemak. We
Yeah.
love our char kway teow.
I know, right?
We love our pisang goreng on a 4 o'clock
Exactly.
sunny afternoon with
my
hot
God.
tea. Come
Yeah.
on. These are all things that just, bring us back to our childhood and just makes who we are as Malaysians.
Yeah, exactly.
But
DJ.
how do we strike a balance?
Well, to be honest, GJ, I think food plays an important part in terms of our culture as being
Yes.
Malaysian. And I think we can't really take away food out from everything, right? Even though we're in a social situation, we're party, and there's always food,
Right.
Food is meant us to connect, right? And so I think demonizing food, saying that this is bad, char kway teow is bad, nasi lemak is too calorie ridden. I think that is not the way forward. And I think we should embrace the diversity of our food in Malaysia.
Of course.
And it's just about knowing where are the limits. All right, it's just like trying to eat veggies, but if you happen to eat more veggies or you happen to drink more water, anything doing too extra, it's just not going to be good for you.
Right.
All right, think about it. So I think the awareness is not there in terms of how do we manage the balance. The balance, right? Because I guess maybe we're brought up in an environment where we are, we just haven't really taught ourselves like how to eat, right? Like our skills, we do consciously upgrade our skills, right? Every single year we go for courses, but when it comes to food, it just seems like natural, like it's like subconscious that we were given a frame of how to eat since young.
Yeah.
Maybe your parents taught you, maybe your environment shaped you to become who you are, your family, right? And that kept on until we
My
passed
mother,
on.
mother, when I was growing up, she taught me, she said, Anil, whenever you take a plate to help yourself with some rice, make sure your rice is only a handful.
Really?
And then you fill your plate up with all the vegetables and the protein. But I do it the other way around. I fill the entire plate up with a lot of rice and then just a little bit of vegetables. Seems like I never really learned anything from my mom.
Well, I guess that's a challenge as well, you know, Anil. And I think growing up as teenagers, we need more food, we need more calories, we need more energy. Maybe perhaps you were active back then, we need more and more. But I guess that's a tipping point as to when we should kind of like lower down a bit, get and make that as a part of a habit,
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you think are some of the common misconceptions that we as Malaysians have when it comes to, understanding the difference between dieting and also losing weight, Ben?
Well, why not you try to maybe what do you have in mind actually?
Like I said, I think some people think that when you want to lose weight, you cut down on all of your calories, and then maybe you increase the amount of activity, your output, reduce your input, enhance your output, and then eventually what happens is that you don't only burn fat, but you also lose muscle. And your muscle mass is going on a deficit, and you won't be fit. But I think some people don't really have the access to get information from a nutritionist like yourself.
Sure.
So which is why you're going to tell us now.
Exactly, right. So DJ, actually when I started off being a nutritionist, I'm also unaware of the complexity around overweight and obesity, right? I just want to be honest with you, is that we as nutritionists, we are not really, yes, we are trained from a nutritional perspective, but we haven't really gotten to the root cause of why Malaysians actually have this issue, right? Because eating is a lot of factors, right? There's environmental factors, there are interpersonal factors, right? Emotional factors. I can generally tell you, like, majority of Malaysians that I know right now, even in my practice, many of them have emotional issues when it comes to eating. Right? Maybe when they're stressed, when they're bored, they want to reconnect to the childhood, right? And things like that. So it's just not just calories in versus calories out. Yes, that the equation exists, but what influences the calories in? And that's the question. And speaking of, people who say, especially the fitness gym, they would say, hey, Anil, you better get exercising right now. You should stop eating all those so-called, not so good food and then go clean. But the fact that if you go clean, it's like taking away the comfort. It's like taking away the happiness from the food, which many people can relate to, right? For example, if you had a long day at work, you come back home, you sit on the sofa, you watch your TV. Sometimes you just want something nice to enjoy, right? It's been a tiring day, we're out there. So, and if you ask that person to remove that from his or her life, how that person feel at the moment? He or she might feel horrible, right? So I would say we should look, over issues more from a more holistic perspective. It shouldn't just be calories in versus calories out. We should take into account emotional factors, interpersonal factors, environmental factors. And I guess this education part is where I think is the missing puzzle.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll continue with our conversation,
Sure.
Ben, after a short break. Today on Health on Tracks, I'm speaking to Ben Chi. He's a senior nutritionist and founder at the Body Crafter Wellness, and
you
he's
so much.
helping us crack the fat code. Don't go anywhere. Health on Tracks will be right back. Good morning and welcome back to Health on Tracks. I'm Anil on the mic, and with us today in the studios is Ben Chi. He's a senior nutritionist and founder of Body Crafter Wellness, and he's today having a dialogue with us on the topic that we have today, which is titled Cracking the Fat Code. Welcome back, Ben, to Health on Tracks. Now, earlier on before the break, we touched on how we need to also pay attention to the emotional connection we have with food. Not only just immediately, apply the brakes on not enjoying the foods that we love to, right? But of course, it's really difficult for us to just strike that balance because we love our desserts, we love our food. But how do we responsibly enjoy these foods without, without going over on the scale, so to speak?
Yeah. So, great question and great transition, speaking of the emotional connection towards how we actually eat, right?
Sure.
So, but there are actually ways that we can overcome emotional challenges, right, which I think we wouldn't be able to cover everything.
Sure.
But I think the first thing we got to do, the most simplest fact is we got to know what we need to do correctly. And not by eating less, but by eating more of the right things. So for example, let's say we do understand that especially in the afternoon, maybe you'll be craving for your pisang goreng, you're craving for a sugary snack, things like that. But the thing about this is, many people are unaware that why do we have all these cravings? Yeah, why?
Why?
Yeah, I think that's a question that maybe many people haven't really asked.
Okay.
Why?
Why do I crave? Yes, sometimes I end up questioning myself, but I just forget about it and I address the crave.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Instantly, you feel like you need to address the crave. But you know what makes the body crave? It is very also hormonal. It is also very chemical based. So what do I mean by that is
Yeah.
maybe you're stressed, maybe you crave more.
Okay.
But if you're happy, maybe you're exercising, you're having a good time outside, adventuring, doing some camping work. Maybe perhaps you wouldn't be craving that much.
Right.
So there's an emotional hormonal connection between the craving sensation and what we eat. And I think the best way for us to start is putting aside the emotional part. Biologically, is you gotta eat right. So what I mean by eat right is the Ministry of Health had already given us such a great framework,
Which
right?
is okay.
the quarter half.
Quarter
Which
half.
is exactly what you mentioned earlier, which perhaps your mom had foresee that
I
needless.
hope she's listening now.
Yeah. Your mom is very visionary.
Okay.
Right? He knew that we needed to follow that. So basically, in simplest terms, it's called a 2-1-1. Right, but
Right.
Malaysia we call it suku separuh in Malay.
Okay.
Right. So
Suku sparrow. Okay.
so imagine suku is a 1/4. So 1/4 of what? 1/4 of your plate.
Okay.
All right. So imagine like you go to a buffet, right? The kind of plate that starts with a plate.
Yes.
That plate, all right, 1/4 it should be, of course, it should be the protein. right?
Protein,
And the
okay.
carbs, right? Protein, and of course the protein will come in with the lean fishes, right? With the meat, right? Tofu, everything,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And 1/4, what's the other quarter? It will be the carbohydrates. Yeah, the
Carbohydrates.
carbohydrates which consists of what? Bijiran, right? Whole grains, right? You have the tubers,
Okay.
mangkuang, the potatoes, right?
Yeah.
You have the rice, the bihun, lah, right? Basically,
Yes.
and finally the half, which consists of veggies,
Right,
all right, and
right.
fruits, all right.
Okay.
So if you eat that correctly,
Okay.
you will notice that cravings will be reduced.
You mean cravings will be
Will be reduced, right?
Right,
Because the thing
right,
about this
right.
is many people is if they, for example, let's say lunch, if you go out there outside, maybe we don't have enough vegetables. Right?
okay.
It's mostly carbs, mostly fats, maybe a few pieces of cucumber just to make that look a bit appetizing.
Right.
But generally, it's going to be carbs. So what happens is after you have a heavy carby fat meal, what happens is your sugar level is going to go up, come back down,
Come back down.
and now in the next 2 or 3 hours, you start to crave more food. But if you buffer your food with healthy fats, with protein, with veggies,
Yeah.
it will lengthen that satiety.
Right. Okay. So you feel like you had a much more fulfilled meal.
Exactly.
A rich meal with all of the nutrition that you need.
Exactly. So automatically, when you're having your when you're having those cravings, like,
Okay.
it will be a lot more manageable. You wouldn't feel like you're hungry to a point where you're gonna have 5 or 6 curry puff.
Yes.
You're gonna have one. It's just as just to enjoy.
Just to
In a-
enjoy.
in a very mindful way. You know exactly what you enjoy, why you enjoy. Right? It's not to a point where you're extremely hungry. I need energy. I'm tired, and I want that quick.
This got
Yeah.
me thinking, Ben,
Yeah.
because you see kids usually when they're at school
Yeah.
these days, they're given a tray. You know,
Yes.
that tray, and that tray has got spaces, right?
Yeah.
There's one space, obviously the biggest one, which is for them to maybe put on their carbohydrates, and then they got few other spaces.
Yes, yeah.
And then that is like to teach them the importance of having a balanced diet, and it's labeled, each space is labeled fruits, vegetables, legumes, and all things like that. And then
Yeah.
they're supposed to fill all of that up.
Yeah.
But then as we gradually get older, we don't use that tray anymore. We use that round plate, and then there's no indication on, what we need to
Yeah.
fill where. Maybe we got to go back to basics. What do you think about that? Adults using trays that are labeled carbs, this much, that's it. This much protein, this much vegetables, legumes, and that's it. Don't go anything more than that. And I think you got to put a level up as well. Make sure your rice doesn't go beyond this.
It's gonna be
Yeah, otherwise it's going to be a big mountain.
like a
Like
Petronas
how
tower. That's not what I'm gonna do.
my dad always makes
Yeah.
fun of me. He said, Anil eats like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah. So actually, sometimes it's just a habit that we
Yeah.
feel like we need more, because the fact that we need more is because we feel hungry.
Hungry.
But if you eat correctly, getting the protein, getting the veg, making sure that you don't eat in a hurried manner, which
Okay.
I'm pretty sure many people does,
Yeah.
you tend to get the satiety in.
Okay.
So having the tray, of course, you wouldn't want to be getting the trays all around in Malaysia, right?
Yeah,
Imagine you're
yeah.
going around. I think that's not practical. But I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I love the idea of having a tray, especially when you can at home,
Yeah.
to get that mindfulness first. alright?
Correct.
To establish that mindfulness, because I think many people, when it comes to food, they're just very subconscious. All right.
Yeah.
So I think we need certain things, certain tools to help us to become more conscious, know exactly what we eat,
Okay.
and only then eventually it become part of you. Yeah. So I like your idea, Anil. Looking forward. Yeah. Maybe you can start distributing all these plates to all listeners right now.
Yeah, or maybe when you go to a buffet,
Yeah.
or maybe the buffet owners, whoever's providing that buffet, should be responsible enough by labeling the plate. Use plates that are labeled. Okay, only this much protein, and then this is where you go to put your, your carbohydrates, and
Yeah.
remind everyone. But of course, no one does that because there is a science that says when you make people anxious, that's when they go on doing the same thing even more. Right?
Exactly. So that's where the relapse coming in and things like that, right? So the thing about this is, sometimes stress would make you eat. Sometimes anxiousness will make you eat. And the fact that if you eat more, after you felt the hit, you felt good. But after a few hours later, you feel guilty about it. You feel anxious about it. And that kind of continue the cycle.
Okay.
And that's the thing that is hard for people to get out.
Right.
But there's a way.
There is a way?
There's a way.
Okay, we'll find out what the way is. Let's jump in for a very quick break, Ben.
Sure, no worries.
When we come back, we'll resume with the discussion. Today on Health on Tracks, I'm speaking to Ben Chi. He's a senior nutritionist and founder of Bodycrafter Wellness, and Ben is talking to us about cracking the fat code. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a very quick break. Welcome back to Health on Tracks with me, Anil, on the mic. I'm today speaking to Ben Chi, a senior nutritionist and founder of Bodycrafter Wellness, a very handsome, fit-looking man, and somebody that you would definitely take his advice seriously because he himself looks the role very, very well, unlike me. But anyway,
No, right, it's fine.
Ben, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Ben, as we expected, you're the Messiah. You bring the good news, right? So how do we do it? How do we maintain a balanced diet?
Yeah.
Tell us.
So just want to go back to the point I mentioned, right?
Yeah.
I think we are lucky because as nutritionists, we spent for the past 3-5 years practicing, and we're always mingling with clients, so we have the awareness in us. So I think it's very unfair to say that why we can keep fit, because I think the challenge for most normal people will be there, because that's not part of what they do.
Okay.
Right. So, but there are ways, right? There are ways that we can do it. All right. So yeah, just now you mentioned about the question, right? So what's it again, DJ?
How do we, ensure that we get to remind ourselves to have that balanced diet every time we, go out to eat, maybe, and avoid ourselves from overindulging?
I think the very first thing is you got to have a strong why.
Okay.
If you were to ask me, is that you have the strong why, like this is important to you, like why do you value this?
Okay.
I think many people, they just want it, but they don't really mean it. Like they just feel like, okay, because weight issues is not as pressing as you're having a headache or you're having a bite by a mosquito, where you require immediate attention. Weight is more like, you get used to it, slowly pick up the weight, and then you feel comfortable in this shape. But actually, if you were to look back 10 years ago, you might feel the difference is obvious. So I guess how to remind ourselves is just have a strong why, find a community, find a group of people that can constantly update you. Maybe listen to more TRAXXfm, hopefully. Get yourself more involved in the health, being more health conscious. It doesn't have to mean that you have to be more health conscious in the sense of weight, but just proactively knowing that you're responsible for your own health.
So speaking of responsible, there are people who have taken it upon themselves to transform their lives, and they follow a diet. And as you and I know it, there are many diets out there.
Yeah, exactly,
There's the keto diet, there's intermittent fasting, then there's another diet called, that I tried, called the GM diet.
GM diet.
Which is a diet that was used by workers of a factory, and it helped them lose weight. Many diets out there. And then, and talking about diets, some diets, if you're not consistent with it, it can sort of alter the way your body operates as well.
Absolutely.
Is it true?
Yeah.
So talk to us about identifying the right diet for us to achieve our weight loss goal.
So if you were to look at speaking of keto, right, which was very popularized back, few years back. And just a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken, the founder the Atkins diet, which is kind of similar to the keto diet, actually pass away
I see.
due to heart issues.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and there are reports that actually mentioned
Yeah.
that the founder, when he passed on, was actually very overweight also. So and coming back to Malaysian, okay, let's speak on content Malaysians. Of course, there's no one diet that fits everyone.
Yeah.
But out of the culture, out of our experience, it's back on the suku spiral diet. That's the best diet that I've seen that can stick on.
Suku spiral.
Exactly, right? The suku spiral diet, which is endorsed by the Ministry of Health, and it is very spot on, right? The suku spiral diet is very balanced. You get fiber, you get protein, you get carbs, you get fat. You enjoy everything in moderation. There are no restrictions. It's not like you can't do this, you can't do that. For example, if you were to be on a keto, it's very hard for you to sustain in Malaysia.
Of course.
And it's going to be very expensive. And also one thing is, I guess, we being Asians, we are not, especially living in Malaysia for the past 3 generations, our ancestors have been used to using carbs, has been used to using carbs as a way. And if you take out carbs from your diet, it's not going to be good for you.
It's not going to work.
Yeah, because
biologically that's how we evolved.
For example,
right?
like Inuit, if you look at the Inuit population, they're living in the very cold temperature, right? They're eating mostly animal fats, and they're fine.
And they preserve the fat. They keep it dry.
Exactly.
They can keep it for months and months.
Absolutely. And this is also because of the environmental factors, right? You're living in a very cold temperature, right, where they need that. But in Malaysia, you can't just jump onto, I'm going to start eating a lot of fats to be healthy, right? It's not like that, because different contexts.
Okay, so we've cleared the air now. Perhaps for the benefit of our listeners who are tuning in, for a start, they can go look up and find out what is the suku spiral proportion for them to start off dieting, and maybe not be a bit too adventurous by trying out the keto diet. Or if it's worked for them, well, okay, albeit good on them. But if it's something that they've been thinking about for a long time, perhaps that is a good way to start. And now, just like what doctors and nutritionists all tell us, to achieve weight loss goals, Ben, controlling your food intake alone is not going to be enough. You've got to be active. Like the song we played, you've got to move it.
Yeah, like the move.
King Julian, right?
Yes,
you've got to be active.
Spot on.
But, some people are just, not built in a way where they can go out and, complete a 5-mile run.
Absolutely.
Or, they can hit the gym and they can lift weights. You got to work stamina and things like that. It takes a while to work. Your advice, Ben, the best way to start working out. Very easy, not too strenuous exercises anyone can do. I know walking, that's a good way. Walking fast, brisk walking. Your thoughts, your suggestions?
Just pretty much movements, right? At the end of the day, we're not talking about exercising, right? You can be burning a lot without even stepping into the gym. For example, someone could be taking the MRT, taking the stairs, and they will be, in total, that adds up to a lot of calories burned. So I guess it's all about introducing movements in your daily life and knowing why movement is important, right? If you don't move a lot, your limbs are going to be very stiff, your muscles could be very sore, right? And nowadays people are sitting so much, right, that we don't really move our limbs. Our muscles are all like stiff. So movements, anything. It can be house chores. It can be, for example, if you're someone that doesn't like getting into the gym, doing a run, perhaps maybe find a sport that you enjoy. Maybe finding partners, a community, right? Many people that I know, they don't necessarily like the sport, but they like the bonding while doing the
camaraderie.
Exactly, right? So finding your personality type, if you're someone that enjoys doing solo, then maybe perhaps find a solo-based kind of activity. And if you're someone that enjoys a community, you like people hanging around, having fun, then find an activity that involves group setting, right? And Malaysia has offered us with so many opportunities. We can go hiking; it's all free, right? We have we got
perfect climate to do so many things outdoors.
Exactly. You have swimming, things like that, and why aren't you taking the steps, right? And also one thing is, I think sometimes people have a misconception that they just don't like it. But if I may ask, DJ, have you ever had a moment where there's something that you don't like, but after you tried it, actually you like it?
Oh yes, of course.
What was it, if I may ask?
Hiking. I
Really?
always had this fear of getting lost in the forest.
There's a GPS now. Don't worry about
Of
it.
course. Until a few friends
Really?
dragged me and they said, "No, silly, you're not going to get lost in the forest.
Yeah.
We're coming along with you." And then I was
Exactly.
like, "Wow, I love this adventure, man."
Yeah.
And then it was so, yeah, and then that's how I got hooked onto it. You're right. You're right.
So I guess maybe there's always a limiting belief that we always thought that perhaps this is not for me and this is not good for me, right? But
Yeah.
sometimes you gotta try,
Of course.
and like you, DJ,
Of course.
you'll find a love in it. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
The art of movement. Yeah, I think that is the takeaway from that, what you just mentioned. It's
Just try.
Yeah, we have to constantly move, like what you said, Ben. Yeah, you don't have to set aside maybe 30 minutes a day if you don't have the time for you to go out for a
Exactly,
run. But instead of taking the elevator, take the stairs and increase the number of the
Steps.
steps that you take. And we got a pedometer these days that can give us
Exactly.
the number of steps. Wow. Ben, thank you very much for setting aside your time on this Monday morning. I can tell you all of our listeners who have been watching us on YouTube and TikTok would have gained a lot. And you might get a lot of questions and, inquiries from people on how they can have a better and healthy lifestyle. Before I let you go for the day, your words of wisdom for everyone listening who wants to lose weight and be healthy.
Just enjoy the process. Don't make it feel as if losing weight is a chore. Losing weight is challenging.
Yeah.
Find joy in doing it. And I think how do you find joy is to get yourself educated. Know what are the tools, the support system, the ways for you to find enjoyment in the process. And how do you do it? Get yourself educated. Listen more to TRAXXfm. Listen more to DJ Anil, and eventually that kind of slowly build up, and you'll find a blissful journey in achieving your health goals.
Ben, if I can just modify your
Sure.
last statement,
Sure.
listen more to Ben Chi. Don't listen to Anil on the mic. I am not the right example for
No. We all have our process, and
Yeah,
and,
okay,
and,
okay.
and really appreciate DJ.
Sure. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, Ben.
Mine too.
Such a wonderful conversation.
Really
We look
appreciate
forward to having you in the studios again. You
forward.
have a lovely rest of the day. Thank
You
you.
too, DJ. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, that's a wrap for today's edition of Health on Tracks, on Tracks Momentum. My name is Anil on the mic, and I just had a conversation with Ben Chi, a senior nutritionist and founder at Bodycrafter Wellness. And he today successfully cracked the fat code with us by letting us know many things that we may have not known, but add a lot of conviction and give us a reason for us to go out there and start eating healthy. And of course, the key takeaway, I guess, from this conversation is to move, because just by dieting alone, you're not going to achieve a healthy body. As they say, the body is the temple and it has to move. So keep moving, Malaysia. I'll see you in the third hour of Tracks Momentum.